Hi everybody, this is Dr. Polterio here, and I'm here to describe making a Finke Potency tube. This is a very rare and quite lost skill in homeopathic pharmacy, and it's something that's within the reach of every homeopath and naturopathic doctor, so I think we should all know it. So I decided to make this video. So the main source of this is from Dr. Andre Sain. This is a lecture that he gave to me, and he had this lecture transcribed that he did on September 23rd, 2016 in Cothen. And he had this lecture transcribed, and he gave a copy to me when I was preceptoring with him in October 2017. So great gratitude to Andre on this. So, Finke potencies are named after Finke. He is a man of uncommon brilliance. He's from Saxony, along with Staff, who's another famous homeopath, Hahnemann himself, and Herring. He graduated in 1854 from the University Medical College of New York and was said by his peers to be one of the most brilliant minds of his homeopathic generation. And this is the generation in homeopathy with, it's like the second generation. It's got Lippe, uh, Herring, and Finke. So that he was a tall man among giants. So at this time, the homeopathic movement was gaining a great deal of ground in the United States, following the success against the vast epidemics, Asiatic cholera being the worst. Um, you um, you could write an entire PhD thesis on that. You could write multiple books on this one topic. Andre Sain is writing a book called The Weight of Evidence. It is upcoming, but it looks brilliant that details all of the evidence, all of the textual things depicting homeopathy and the treatment of epidemic disease. There's another book called um, The Logic of Figures that's on archive.org, and that also goes into them, but in a less extensive way than Sain's book is going to be. Many homeopaths at the time had converted from allopathy just due to the vast, like, if, homeopathy had a death rate of 5% treating cholera or something, and allopathy had a death rate of 40%, like, you're going to convert. But very few of these homeopaths were well educated. There are only about 200 copies of the fifth edition of the Organon available in the US. The sixth edition hasn't been published yet. Many of these allopaths use tinctures and low potency remedies based on the law of similars. And many looked at the high potencies with suspicion. In addition to that, the fifth edition of the Organon set kind of a limit of 30C, not to be, and this wasn't really, Hahnemann in the end of his life abandoned this limit, but but this wasn't really well known until the publication of the sixth edition of the Organon, and that was not published until, quite a bit later in 1916, and hasn't even become popular until the mid 20th century. So at this time, again, the 1850s, individuals began experimenting with higher potency levels, often using a machine to potentize the remedy or potentize a remedy because it was quite laborious. Von Korsakoff in Europe was one such individual, and Skinner in the United States was. Finke himself also devised a technique based on his observations of natural phenomenon. He took a remedy that had already been potentized, put it in a little vial. He used 1 gram vials. Nowadays we use 4. And he just dripped a steady stream of water into the vial. And he found that this potentized it with a minimum of fuss and labor, and the remedies were more powerful. He determined that about 1 hour of trituration was roughly equivalent to 5M potentization in the centesimal scale. So 1 hour equals about 5,000 C, if you follow. He named these process fluxion. Fluxion, in his own words, is a physical process long known in natural philosophy and life as a continuous flow caused by a siphon or by running liquids. He also discovered that it was not necessary to use purified or distilled water to accomplish this. He made some of the most powerful remedies in homeopathic history from plain old tap water from New York, which, in those days was not treated. There was all sorts of crap in it. So he would always begin with a potency made by centesimal means, usually 30C or something like that, and found that contaminants did not impact the potentization whatsoever. When you started with a kind of an already potentized substance, the water kept it, even if there was contaminants in the water that you were using. Which is good because to make a high potency remedy required, many gallons of water. So using that with distilled water got expensive. There's also an implication here for trituration. Trituration was not as well known in Finke's day, but it is now. I would be very curious to see, does this hold true if you made a triturated substance, like let's say you triturated a plant to C3 and then just straight Finke'd it. Would it still work? I think it would. So Finke's potencies were often used by the best prescribers. Kent, Lippe, and so forth were very, very fond of them. They mention them very frequently. The Canadian Academy of Homeopathy often publishes just small case studies by Lippe. So, they're on Facebook. You should follow them. And Lippe will often note that he uses Finke potencies and found them to be incredibly powerful, much more so than centesimally prepared things, remedies. Andre Sane has the largest collection that I know of, and that he knows of as well, of Finke potencies. And if anyone wants to go to his clinic in Montreal, um, he's happy to have preceptors and have people take grafts. He was very gracious with me last November and October. Uh, he uses these potencies extensively in the management of neurological disease, cancer, and other very serious diseases that many other homeopaths have proved, not too adept with, and so forth. However, the making of remedies by Fluxion is not recognized by the Homeopathic Pharmacopoeia of the United States or any other homeopathic pharmacopoeia. They recognize the LM, centesimal, and decimal methods only. This is not for them. Or this is not something they recognize. So Skinner, who invented one of the other machines that makes high potency remedies, has this quote on Finke potencies. My own machine, however excellent, sinks into utter insignificance when contrasted with the mathematically true and physically simple process of attenuation of Dr. Finke. And, although it may still prove useful for the lower powers, so the lower potencies, up to 1M, the fluxion of process of Finke must and necessarily will take precedence over all existing machines or methods of dynamization. That is one hell of an endorsement from the guy who invented the other method of potentization. So, when to use a Finke potency? The best and perhaps greatest use of Finke potencies is when you need to make a higher potency really, really fast, and getting it from a pharmacy just isn't an option. Let's say you've got a patient who's very acutely ill, and you find a good remedy for them, but you only have a 30C, and you know what, they really, really need that remedy right away. Finke it right there. You can have them wait an hour. You can do that right this minute, and so forth, and you will have a remedy immediately available for them. The second great use of these Finke potencies is when one wishes to have a higher potency when having gone to the potency of a remedy. So you've already kind of increased the potency of a remedy up to and you're like, oh my god, there's, I need to, but the same remedy is still indicated. You can you can make a Finke and increase the potency of that remedy a little bit. However, I would caution you, you can always increase the trituration level of a remedy. So most remedies are either made from the mother tincture or they're made from the third trituration. So you can just go and start at a 6C of the fourth trituration remedy from an of the third trituration or whatever, and or just you can go up by one trituration level and start at the bottom potency scale, and that will often have a very great effect as well. So I would just remember this. And the third use is if in the future we enter a climate of even greater legal oppression towards our medicine, we will be able to make our homeopathics ourselves. This is a very big implication. It means homeopathy is safe in our hands. We can make our own remedies ourselves, even if, the FDA or Health Canada or whatever becomes just incredibly oppressive and bans them all. We can manage this. So a word on notation. So remember, you start with a potency, at least the way Finke did it. Maybe not the way we do it in the future, but the way Finke did it. Um, you start with an existing potency, a C potency of a remedy, and then you apply the Finke process, which we'll discuss in a little bit, and I will have a demonstration of. The number of hours under the tap becomes the H number. So, for instance, let's say we have an remedy. We have belladonna or something like that, and we put it under the tap for 8 hours in the Finke process. That becomes 8H. Let's say we have a 30C we Finke'd for 1 hour. 30C, 1H. That's how you notate them. Many older Finke remedies are given in C scale and using the 1 hour 5M assumption, but those are always, they always usually have a Finke after them. So for instance, belladonna CM Finke, which works out to about like 100 hours, under the tap, and so forth. So that's how we notate them. Maybe in the future, if we're making them straight from the mother tincture or the trituration, we'll just use the H number. So we'll have maybe, let's say we have Staphylos aureus made from the 12th trituration, and then we leave it under the tap for 8 hours. That would be a Staphylos aureus 8H/12 or something like that. That may be a thing in the future, and I'm curious to begin experiments with those, with remedies prepared in that way. So, what are the implications of Finke potencies? I think the biggest one is one I've been hinting towards. What happens if we use H scale instead? Because Finke needed to start with a C potency. What happens if we just use an H scale to potentize a remedy? What happens if we take a trituration powder, which is already very coherent, it would likely have the same effect, and then just potentize it up with an H scale? How powerful of a remedy would we get? I think we'd get a very powerful one. The second implication is, why the hell are these not part of the homeopathic pharmacopoeia of the United States, or the homeopathic pharmacopoeia of India, or of Germany? This indicates a very severe oversight in homeopathic regulation. And with this, and with trituration, we have the best and perhaps the most comforting implication is that we have a very good method to fail-safe to preserve homeopathy. Even if homeopathic pharmacy is banned, we can, just with our little stack of remedies and a tap and some glassware, preserve homeopathy and create every potency we could possibly need, even if we have to go out and triturate and gather the plants ourselves. So this is very, very comforting to me. Homeopathy is safe no matter what we do. And the fourth implication is, of course, there is no upper limit to potency. Andre mentioned to me one of his patients who had a very severe neurological disease was like on 144H or something like that, made from the So that's like, dude, whoa. So anyway, how do you make one? These are the materials you'll need. You need a 4-dram vial or equivalent with a narrow neck. This is perhaps the most flexible thing. If you don't have a 4-dram vial, use a 2-dram vial. If you don't have a 2-dram vial, I'll use a shot glass. It's not hard to really get something. You just need like a cuppy thing it's relatively small and so forth. You need a tap, you need a sink. You need something to make sure that the vial stays upright in the sink. You need some high potency alcohol to preserve it, to preserve the fluid that you create. I use Everclear. You need a vial with blank pellets to preserve and store, so you just pour the Everclear over the blank pellets like I showed in my grafting video. And you need labels, a tape and a pen, just to label everything. So now I'm going to do a demonstration. I'm going to demonstrate how to make a Finke from an existing potency. This is a live case of mine. So so it's not a live case. This is I needed to do this for a patient. This is for a real patient of mine. I realized I didn't get a good enough close-up of the actual actual process needs to do. So I just took a little video on my Android, and I just interspersed that in there. It's about 10 seconds long, and it just shows the lovely vortex motion that you need. And then third, I report a case report. So I ended up giving this remedy to like literally today to a patient, and they reported some very good results just in office and so forth. And then I preserve the alcohol in front of you guys. I preserve the alcohol or the remedy with alcohol. All right. So I will sign off and sign on to the video. Hi everybody, this is Dr. Paul here, and I'm here to show you how to make a Finke Potency. Now I've got all the raw materials I need right here. I have got a homeopathic remedy. This is Chelidonium 10M, and this is, I need to make a potency for this because I've got a patient in quite desperate need and I don't have time to wait for the pharmacy to ship it to me. So I've got a 2-gram vial, or 2-gram, no, this is a 4-gram vial. You could use a 2-gram too, but I prefer 4. And then I've got basically a sink, which is just in the other room, and I'll show it to you. And then I've got I've got just a little thing to hold the 4-gram vial under the sink, under the little stream of water. So my system, doesn't have to be fancy, is a shot glass filled with toilet paper. So you just put the thing in like this, which I'll demonstrate in a minute, but yeah, no, doesn't have to be fancy. So let's get started. So all you have to do is take the remedy, put the little pills into the vial like thus, and let's go to the sink. Okay, so just walk my computer to the sink. And there we go. Let's see if we can. Okay, so So this is my sink. And then you basically just make a thin stream of water. I get the sink. I need to adjust my angulation. Excuse me. There we go. Perfect. So then I'll just do it on, I will just show you immediately. So there, okay, there we go. Yeah, you can see. So then you just take your sink and you just get a slight bit of water. You see that stream of water? We'll do a close-up in a second. You just get a slight stream of, and I'll put it in the, the holder in a minute. You just do a slight stream of water, and then, oops, fill it in like that. There you go. That's it. You see there's a little bit of a vortex thing formed under there, and that's what potentizes the remedy up. You leave this in for an hour, and then it gradually potentizes the remedy about 5M in 1 hour. So in 1 hour, I'll have the equivalent of a 15M. Or, as we notate in homeopathy, a 10M 1H remedy. This is excellent. Literally anyone can do this for anything, for any remedy. Even if you don't have it potentized, if you want to make a local plant into a remedy, you can use this method. If homeopathy ever becomes not available in Canada and the US, you can use this remedy. So, let's just go, and I'm going to put my little, I know, super fancy toilet paper thing in here, just to hold it in place, because it moves after a little bit. And then I'm going to set a timer and wait. So, I will see. Dr. Paul slightly more than an hour later. So, funny thing happened. I realized after shooting that little video that you just saw that I didn't have one of the main ingredients to make make a Finke Potency to preserve it. I didn't have this Everclear. So I ran to the store, and here I am at my office. So this is the result of our little hour-long Finke potentization. This is, again, this remedy is Chelidonium 10M 1H. So I made this for a patient who was having really bad shoulder pain, like just excruciatingly bad. And so she'd been greatly relieved by the 10M, but I didn't have any higher potencies. And I, like, shoulder pain, you don't want to wait 2 weeks for the pharmacy to get it for you. So I decided to make this up for her. And you can see there's a little bit less. I just gave her a bit today, and her shoulder pain decreased immediately in office, like within 2 or 3 minutes. She's like, oh yeah, it's feeling so much better. This stuff really does work. So basically, we've got here, this is blank water. These are all the supplies you need. So we got, let's just go down here. We got the, not blank water, this is the water, the potentized water, sorry. This is a vial of blank pellets, and we've got our friend here, bottle of Everclear. So you should not be using strong, like vodka or tequila or something, because it'll dissolve the pellets, as we saw in my previous video. So I'm just going to empty this out so that there's only a little bit left. I'm just emptying it out into a container I've gotten below my desk here. So see, there's just a tiny little bit left, and the rest we're going to fill up with Everclear. So again, Everclear is quite important. It's got the percentage you need. All right, now pray for me that I don't spill. Oh, excellent. Good praying, my friends. So anyway, we'll just go and seal that up. And let's just mix it up. So the alcohol preserves the Finke. So a Finke in water is good for a few days, maybe a couple weeks. Alcohol is good forever. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of a mix. And then I'm going to open up the vials, and you just add in a couple drops that way. Just make sure you get like a drop or two of alcohol in. There we go. And then, again, like in the grafting a remedy, you shake and add some intent to it. Make sure you want everything, every pill in here potentized and covered with the medicinal, liquor that we made. And that's it. Now you just label these two. You've got enough in here is enough to make like quite a few of these. So yeah, you're good. Again, I really like this method because with it, you can make, if you made a trituration on your own, you could just use this to potentize it if you didn't have access to a pharmacy. If you need, as in my case, a remedy really just lickety-split, you can do that. It's just such a wonderful method for making remedies and for increasing potency, and it's something that every ND should have access to. If you don't have a 4-gram vial and you're in a pinch, use a shot glass. Like, it's really hard to go wrong with this method. Maybe you'll get a little bit more effect by using something like this, but like, use a shot glass, use anything. I've maintained this for a very long time as a naturopathic doctor. We have in our possession, like in just like a normal kitchen, or with some very basic supplies that anyone can purchase for very little money, enough to do almost all of the medicine we need. We've got remedies, we've got an ability to potentize any substance with this method and provide the medicine that people need nowadays. So anyway, I'll probably do next a video on trituration, so I would love to hear, or if you guys want me to do a video on something else, please do like and comment and so forth. But I hope you all found this instructive, and thank you for watching, and I'm much obliged. Bye.